Hello there. I hope you are having a fantastic week and enjoying yourself, enjoying this fall weather. I guess it depends on where you are. I'm currently in Houston, Texas, and so it's not really fall here. It's still summertime. It's in the 80s every day. It's actually been pretty nice, given that Houston can be extremely hot. Um, so far, I've been here for 2 days. So far, it's been actually fairly pleasant, very similar to the temperatures that I normally enjoy at home in Costa Rica. Um, why Houston, Texas, you might be wondering. My mother lives here. She normally visits me every year. She loves coming to Costa Rica to visit and staying with me. Unfortunately, she hasn't been able to travel for the last 2 years for obvious reasons and is now afraid to travel. Although she could come, she probably won't come anytime soon. And I figured I needed to come see her instead. So here I am. Unfortunately, if you're wondering who that person is that doesn't have internet access, that would be my mother. So I am sitting outside of a Whole Foods here so I can get online because it's not possible otherwise. I can't do it. I can't do it from her house. Let me move this a little bit. Just change that. Get set up here. Yeah, that way my hand's not in the camera of my laptop every time I wave to people on Instagram. So if you're joining me here on Instagram, welcome. Glad to see you. If you're here with me on YouTube, I'm glad you're here as well. I'm going to be looking down to look at YouTube and looking up over here to Instagram. So if you're wondering why I'm doing that, that's what's going on. All right. I hope you're all well. Um, let's jump into some questions. I see you can't hear anything. I don't know why. Oh, yeah, I'm not sure why that would be. You should be able to hear, I believe. Let me try. All right. Okay, so Water Girl can't hear me. No sound. No sound. Uh-oh. Okay, hang on with me here on YouTube. Let's see if I can figure out why my phone is not providing any sound. Sound is turned all the way up. No sound. No sound. All right. Can you guys hear me now? Let me know if you can hear me now. No sound on Instagram. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna shut down and jump right back in on Instagram, and maybe it'll work the next time. I don't know why that's happening, but let's see what happens. Okay, I appreciate you bearing with me here on YouTube. This should take just a moment. Let's see if it works this time. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, looks like we're back. Hopefully this one works this time. All right, we'll see what happens. Okay, Bonne Luge. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Water Girl, you there? You can hear me now. Okay, fantastic. All right. So I'm not sure what happened there, but sometimes just closing it down and getting back in is the way to go. Okay. Working now. Fantastic. All right. Great. Okay. So it's great to be with you here. Let's take a look. By the way, let me show you something here. One of the things I was excited about coming to the U.S., it's funny. When I'm in the U.S., I eat fruit that I can't get at home. And so I've got a bunch of peaches that are ripening, probably the last ones of the season. And I was here at Whole Foods yesterday to get online and was hoping to find some figs. No figs whatsoever. They said, nope, We had a limited amount. They're all gone. This morning, I got figs. I got a whole meal here of figs. That will be my breakfast today. Early this afternoon will be figs. How many years do you have? I got all the years, man. What do you mean? I got how many years do I? How old am I? I'm 60 years old. 60 years old and still feeling and functioning fantastic. Um, Not sick a day in 35 years. All right. So I've got a whole bunch of questions here on YouTube. Let me jump into some of those. Flyer says, "Hey Loren, how's it possible I eat 3 kilograms of fruit every day, do not have bowel movements every day, and still stay 99.9% same weight or even lose for over 10 months? Thanks." Well, I think the answer is that you are not absorbing. You are not either digesting, absorbing, assimilating, or all of the above. You can't absorb what you don't digest. You can't assimilate what you don't absorb. And so it could be that you're simply not digesting and therefore nothing happens, or that you're digesting but not absorbing, or that you're digesting, absorbing, but not assimilating. I don't know. I see this a lot with people who are underweight. They sometimes eat a ton of food but don't gain weight, they lose weight. And that's what's going on. That is something we can resolve. The way to resolve that is via fasting for 21 days or more. In fact, I got a message this morning from a young client who fasted with me recently. She left us well, tomorrow it'll be 2 weeks ago when we closed. And she was very underweight, had been, having an impossible time, was not able to gain any weight, and had gone to there's a place, I don't know if you've heard of this place called True North. Maybe you have. She went there. They told her she couldn't fast. She was too thin to fast. She finally met a doctor there who told her she could fast for 5 days only because of her weight. And so she did that 5-day fast, but wasn't able to gain weight back. So she came to us even much leaner than she went there, fasted 15 days with me, and is now feeling fantastic, has healed Lyme disease, has had, swollen glands for 5 or 6 years, maybe longer. Um, Resolved. All those things resolved, and she's now gaining weight again. So this is what happens. You would probably, depending on your weight, would probably want to fast at least 21 days. She was so thin that 16 days was really all she was able to do, all I was willing to allow her to do. But it's an amazing thing that happens. What can I do as far as my daughter's teacher's school not agreeing raw fruits and vegetables and fresh fruit juices are acceptable and she needs cooked foods? Well, first of all, fruit juices are not acceptable. Fruit juices are extremely high glycemic load, concentrated in heavy water, far inferior, oxidized, and far inferior to whole foods. But if my kids' schools were insisting that they eat cooked food, and they weren't willing to allow me to direct my child's diet, I would take the child out of school and put them somewhere else, because the school has no business dictating your child's diet. I mean, it's one thing if you're feeding your child only junk food, but the fact that the teacher and the school don't understand what a healthy diet is, you can, if they're not willing to listen to you, then it's time to take the child somewhere else. I wouldn't feed the child cooked food because the school insists. I would tell the school to mind their own business. All right. Judy, hello there. Good to see you. Enrico says, "Hi, Loren. Do you think that leaky gut problem is due to fungal candida damage effect? Can the extended water fasting sort out and heal this problem? Thank you." Yeah. So let's be clear. I don't know exactly what causes leaky gut. No one does. There's theories, but there is, it's not one of those things that's been agreed upon what actually causes this issue. It could be because of, at least partially because of candida. I don't know. Candida is a significant issue that many people suffer from, but that doesn't mean that it's the cause of leaky gut. It might be. Here's the thing that's really cool. If you are trying to treat symptoms, you have to at least understand what the symptoms are and how the toxic substances, drugs, herbs, whatever they may be, that you're using to treat, suppress those symptoms, what the effects of them are. If you are willing to simply get out of your body's way, which is all fasting does, then yeah, I mean, the body can heal leaky gut. It heals it all the time for people. The body can heal candida. We have a virtually 100% success rate healing candida. The body can heal from Lyme disease. The body can heal from anything. Whatever it is that could be causing this, chances are about 100% that if you're willing to fast both long enough and properly, you can heal. That's what fasting is about. It's about healing your body, and your body knows how to heal itself. You just need to give it the conditions and opportunity that it needs. And so, that's the cool thing about this, Enrico. We don't have to know what the cause is, because if it's something your body can heal, your body will heal it when you give it the chance. Okay, that's what fasting is all about. So absolutely, you can almost certainly heal this by fasting both long enough and properly. And the thing to do would be to do it as soon as you're able to, because the longer you go, the bigger the problem tends to become. Okay? All right. I'm glad that you can hear me here. Judy, that's great. The problem was on Instagram. It's now been resolved. But thanks so much. I appreciate the comments there. All right, let's see. Where were we? Hello, Sherry. Thanks so much, Jay. I appreciate that. I have to admit, I don't know who Jay is, but just a J there. I'll have to go take a look. Lao Tenzu, hello there. Watching you from Portugal. Still some great weather here. So far, it's been easy to keep an optimal diet, but I fear it will get harder once the cold arrives. Yeah, it does make it more difficult for sure. And it becomes really important that you dress appropriately so that you're not counting on food to warm you up, right? When people say to me, it's so cold, I need cooked food. My response is put on a sweater, put on heavier socks, keep your hands and feet warm, and make sure you've got enough clothes on. I mean, it seems obvious. We are tropical animals. So if you're living in a place that gets a cold winter, yeah, it's going to be more challenging, and you might be tempted to eat cooked food to warm you up. It's a bad idea. Okay, much better to simply put on the clothing you need to stay warm enough. Okay. I'm sitting at Whole Foods, so I always feel like I should buy something when I borrow their internet. This is spring water, and in a glass bottle. That's nice. I appreciate that very much. I hate drinking out of plastic if I can avoid it. Okay. Any expert tips on how to keep optimal in the cold? Yep. I think I just gave them to you. Hello, Jasmine. Good to see you. I got that. That's been resolved on Instagram, by the way, if you prefer Instagram. We're all set there now. Good morning, Bonita. Nice to see you. Hello, Dana. I'm glad you hear me. That's great. Okay, I got to change this screen back. There we go. That's much better. Ed says, hey, Loren, hope everything is well. I wanted to ask you for your thoughts on music's effect on the brain and overall health, including its effects on dopamine levels, synapses, etc. Well, I'm not an expert on the effect of music on the brain, except that, the most interesting, hello, Matthias, good to see you. Love you too, man. Thanks for your comments. I appreciate it. I knew what you meant, by the way. So, there's some very interesting information based on Masaru Emoto's work, Messages in Water, where he took water, played music to a water sample, and then froze it to look at the crystal in formation. And so what's clear is that music has an effect on water that heard symphonic music, beautiful melodic music, different varieties, show these beautiful, uniform, symmetrical crystals. Water that was played rap music or heavy metal music or anything that was discordant. Um, it was ugly, broken crystals. So our bodies are mostly water. They're less water than they should be for most people. Most people are severely dehydrated. But because we're mostly water, the effect of anything on water is going to affect us because we're mostly water. Water is mostly what's going in, what's happening in the body is about the movement of water. And so there's no question that music has a powerful effect on us. Music can soothe us. Music can rile us up. If you've ever heard, listened to heavy metal, you might get that sort of intense feeling. I've noticed the same thing watching violent movies, and I typically try to avoid those kinds of movies. I don't always avoid them. Actually, last night, my mother wanted to go see the new James Bond movie. It's kind of funny. She's 87. She's seen all the James Bond movies over the last 50 years, I guess. And so we went to see James Bond last night. Now, fortunately, it wasn't, it's not like some movies are just total violence. This was pretty intense, but it could have been worse. Cymatics is patterns forming through vibration. Right, yeah. So we're definitely affected by vibration of all kinds, right? Unfortunately, electromagnetic radiation is vibration, it's frequency, and it affects us in a very negative way. Music can affect us in very positive ways or negative ways, depending on what it is. It can have that either effect on us. Gosek says, I'm on day 4 of a juice fast. Is it okay to have raw fruit juice on occasion? Well, honestly, I wouldn't ever recommend juice fasting. And again, I know there's a lot of people that are going to say you're crazy, that's bullshit, et cetera, et cetera. But by the way, so we have a super chat, which I'll get to in just a moment. Ian, thank you. Remember, all juices are overly concentrated, largely oxidized, fragmented, imbalanced, unnatural substances. We don't ever make anything better by putting it through a machine. Okay, we put things through a machine and they get worse, not better. And so juices aren't health foods. They're not health foods. Okay, and drinking juices isn't fasting. You're consuming calories and nutrients, so you have a fraction of the benefit that you would get from actual fasting. If you're unable to do a water-only fast, the only real fast there is, then my recommendation would be to eat only high water content fruit. Okay, eat watermelons, melons, papayas, anything that's very high in water content. One fruit at a time. Mono fruit meals is always best, especially when you're trying to cleanse. You keep it as simple as possible, stick to high water content foods, and let your body cleanse that way. Drinking juices imbalances the body. It's not natural, and we're never going to do better than nature. Not ever. Okay? So it's okay to have an occasional glass of juice as a treat, but it's like, for me, it's a guilty pleasure because I know this is far less optimal than just eating the perfect food that nature gives us. We never, ever do better than that. Not under any circumstances. Okay, juices are never better. So I personally wouldn't recommend it. All right. What types of eye conditions would fasting heal? Thank you, Kurt. We've seen a whole variety of different eye conditions heal via fasting. Pretty much anything that can heal. So cataracts. Let's see, glaucoma. I've actually fasted groups of blind people and people who are blind for different reasons and have seen improvements in every single person. And juices are easier to digest, obviously. Yeah, but so what? They're unnatural substances, overly concentrated, high glycemic load, fragmented. You're forcing your body to deal with excessive amounts of issue. What is digestion is an issue? What if digestion is an issue? If digestion, I think that's what you meant to say, if digestion's an issue, then you should be fasting, not drinking juices. Again, juices are unnatural, overly concentrated, fragmented, largely oxidized substances which imbalance your body. So if you can't digest well, then what you should do is contact me about guiding you through a real fast, which is 1,000 times more powerful than drinking juices. I am not exaggerating. Okay, there's no comparison. So why would you do something that's far inferior and that's imbalancing your body? Okay, it makes no sense to me. My point being, if you can't digest fruit, then fast. If you can't digest fruit, then you need to fast. You don't need to be consuming something that's unnatural. That's my point. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Thoughts on celery? It's pretty, it's green, it's hard to digest, it's not optimal for us. I don't really recommend celery. We do every once in a while use celery and even celery juice when I've got someone who is low in sodium chloride only, because we don't want to give them salt. Okay, and so celery juice. But again, this is a very specific circumstance. Generally speaking, this is not what we want to do. All right, so Ian 444444 has made a £5 contribution and said, thanks for always being here on Fridays, irrespective of how busy you are or where you are in the world. You are very, very welcome, Ian. I have missed some Fridays, but I think I'm going on, I think it's been about 6 years now. And I do my best to be here every Friday. Today, I think I said at the beginning, if you were here, that my mother doesn't have internet and my cell phone doesn't work in the U.S. I suppose I could buy international coverage, but it's ridiculously expensive in Costa Rica to do that. And so I yesterday came out to buy a chip for my cell phone so I could use my cell phone to connect to my laptop so I can broadcast both YouTube and Instagram at the same time. But this morning I wasn't able to get online on my laptop through my cell phone. So I jumped in. Fortunately, my mother doesn't go anywhere much anymore, so told me I have free use of her car while I'm here. So I jumped in her car and drove back over to Whole Foods at the last minute so I could get online. Here I am, happy to do it. I'm glad to be with you guys. I think it's just so sad. I mean, so many people suffer needlessly because they don't know how simple it is to create an amazing level of health. If you're suffering, you need to understand that it's not complicated at all. It's not complicated at all. You're very welcome, Gosek. It's not complicated. Creating an amazing level of health is really simple. It's not always easy. It may not be easy for you to make the changes you need to make. Okay, and it may be, for some people, it may be that my rates are ridiculously high that they don't see a way to make it happen. But I don't know if everyone here is aware, I work with people remotely. And when I work, if you come to the center where we just cover our expenses, then you need to pay in full 4 weeks before you arrive. But if you work with me remotely, then you can pay 50%. It costs half as much, and you can pay 50% up front, and you can pay the balance over time. It makes it affordable for almost everyone. Okay? And so the point is, when people say to me, "Oh, I can't do that," what I usually say is, I think what you mean is it's not important enough to you yet. Because when it's important enough, what do? We find a way to make it happen. We find a way to make it happen. I mean, that's what happens, right? It's been said, when there's a strong enough why, i.e. when it's important enough, we figure out how. And we've had clients from 145 countries come to us in Costa Rica. And think about what that means. There aren't 145 wealthy countries. People are coming to me from countries where there isn't so much money. Now, often we're seeing wealthy people from those countries, but we're often seeing normal people who find a way to make it happen because it's important enough for them. Okay, that's what they do. You can do it too. If it's important enough, you can figure out how to get to us. And when you do, if you can follow simple directions and you're willing to make optimal choices, you can feel and function amazingly well every single time. I can't read your name with numbers and letters, but it says, "Hi, Loren. Good to see you. Do you have to get tested to enter the U.S. again?" Yes. I have yet to take a real PCR test. But I mean, there's a PCR test necessary to come into the U.S. We have a lab that we work with who tests our clients when they need to leave, and so they do a lot of work with us. And I explained to the MD who runs the lab, who owns the lab, that fasting makes the sinus passages very sensitive. So they can't stick anything up the sinus passage. And so what they do a mouth swab instead. And that means, yep, no big deal. So I got that done. I came here. First time I've had any kind of test. You can just drink water on your own. Yeah, yes, you can just drink water on your own. And thousands of my clients have told, I mean, every week for years, I hear from 4 or 5 people. I got a message yesterday from someone who said, I just completed a fast 3 weeks ago on my own. I've created all kinds of problems. Can you help me? And that happens almost every day. Okay. Fasting is amazing if you know what you're doing. You have to understand the process. And so this is why experts for years have said no one should fast without experienced guidance. If you want to fast for a couple days, feel free to. But if you want to fast for weeks and you actually need to heal your body and you don't want to harm yourself, the intelligent thing to do would be to have guidance. Yep, you can do it on your own. Anyone can stop eating and drink water. That's absolutely true. But not many people do a very good job of that on their own. How much is it? I've just joined. How much is it? How much is it to fast with me? Remotely, it's $500 a week, US dollars per week. And again, you can pay 50% up front and the balance over time. If you come to the center, it depends on the length of your stay. Go to tanglewoodwellnesscenter.com and you'll find all the information. Okay. Tanglewood turns 25 in March. We have guided thousands of people through fasts. Probably half of them tried fasting on their own. Virtually all of them, after fasting with us, said they'll never do that again because they have a much better, more powerful, safer experience at Tanglewood. Okay, so if you can get to us, that's the thing to do. If you can't get to us, I can guide you remotely. It's still an amazing process. We have an amazing remote fasting program where you get an email with a video every single day. You have access to me 24/7 should you need it. You have priority email response, etc. How do you fast? How do you feel about combining like fruits in a meal, acids together and sweet together? Well, you can do that, sweet love, but it's not optimal. I mean, there are some things that combine better than others. Obviously, as you said, acids, oranges and grapefruits combine relatively well together. Sorry about the noise. There's a parking lot right out here. There's one table further back, but there's only one place there you go. You can see it on Instagram. There we go. Only one place I can plug in. I've got calls after this, and so needed to make sure that I kept my laptop powered up. I think I'll unplug it now for a while. But here, I can plug it back in when I need to. It's the only table where there's an outlet right here, which is why I'm sitting at this particular table. So yes, you can combine certain things that combine well together. Different types of apples or apples and pears. Peaches and nectarines is a good combination. But it's always best. We always digest optimally when we eat one type of thing at a time. And that's because for every single thing we eat, okay, again, if you missed it, I'm going to flaunt it. If you missed it earlier, when I go to eat these figs later on, my body, as I'm chewing up the fig, my body takes a measure on the tongue of exactly what's present. It's looking to see how much protein, how much carbohydrate, how much fat. And by the way, all real foods contain all three. Every living cell contains both protein and fat, which is why we don't need any concentrated proteins. Okay, so my body looks to see how much protein, how much fat, how much carbohydrate, how much of these vitamins and those, how much water, and then it creates the perfect environment for the optimal digestion of that food in the stomach. But if we eat two different things that require two different environments, how does the body do that? Well, it can't create two different environments. So it creates an environment which is a compromise for both of them. And that's why most of my meals are mono meals for the last 30 years. We're now in October. In November, I'll celebrate 30 years eating this way. There's been a few exceptions, but 30, it's almost every day for 30 years I'm eating mono fruit meals or simple green salads, and every once in a while some gourmet raw, but not very often. Okay, that's what works best. That's simply what works better than anything else. That would be the best way to do it. All right, I'm going to go back over here to YouTube because I haven't answered questions here for a while. Let's see. Jasmine asks, is washing detergent bad for your health? I've started using Indian nuts to wash my clothes. Yes. So, I mean, detergents in general, I'm going to take a big approach. Okay, the big view here, right? The wider view. Detergents are harmful to the environment. We are part of the environment. Our health depends on the health of the environment, on the health of the air, the water, the soil, etc. Using harsh chemical products like detergents is harmful to the environment, and therefore I would never use those. Now, there are safe organic laundry soaps, which are much better. Here in the U.S., there's a brand. There are many brands. There's a brand called E-Cover. There's another brand called Seventh Generation, and there's various other ones. Okay, and so I mean, if the Indian nuts, these are things that go into the washer instead of soap, and they theoretically clean the laundry. I've tried them before. Have been sort of had okay results. But what we do at Tanglewood is we use non-detergent organic laundry soaps, and we actually now have switched to a brand that is imported from Germany. I have a German neighbor, who imports 100% organic products, cleaning products, and that's what we use now at Tanglewood only. Okay. All right. Wellhung says, how many weeks of refeeding protocol do you recommend after a 41-day fast? Many thanks as always for being such inspiration, all of us. I'd recommend 21 days refeeding after a fast of 40, 41, or 42 days. But honestly, it would be literally insane to attempt to do this on your own, because you get a fraction of the benefits that you'd get by having someone guide you properly through the process, someone truly experienced. So I wouldn't recommend doing that. All right. Well hung. Greetings from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Thank you, sir. Can we drink ice water while fasting? It's better not to. You want to drink room temperature, and I mean, listen, the fact that you're asking questions, great that you're asking, but there's a lot of things you don't know, and there's a lot of more things that you don't even know that you don't know. Okay. You can't get the best experience unless you really know what you're doing. You're going to be much safer. You're going to get much better results having experienced guidance. Okay. If the money's an issue, let me know. I mean, again, with the remote program, it's not that expensive. Okay. There's ways to make it work, always. Okay. Reach out to me and we can find a way to make it work for you. All right. But yeah, you don't want to drink water that's either warm or cold if you can avoid it, because what that does is it forces your body to waste energy to cool down or warm up the water to a roughly body temperature. So water should be between ambient temperature and body temperature, not hot, not cold. Okay, that's what's ideal. All right. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, I see we have a couple of more super chats. So we'll jump down to those. Citrus Simon. Hello, Citrus. Citrus has made a £5 contribution and says, I admire the way you keep on constantly expanding Tanglewood. What's your motivation for this constant expanding? And is there an endpoint? Actually, we haven't expanded in a while. We expanded 2 years ago, right before COVID, and then all of a sudden the borders were closed for 6 months, and we just invested all this money. We did it because of a mistake, to be honest. My assistant, who is responsible for ensuring that we don't book more people than we have beds, booked more people than beds. And so we wound up in a position where we had a whole bunch more people that were already reserved for the next session. We were about 135% booked. And so we had 5 weeks, 6 weeks. We built the rooms quickly to accommodate the overflow. And frankly, now that we have the rooms, it's kind of hard to turn people away when we have space. And we went ahead and furnished them. And so now we take more people. It means I work harder than before. There is one other motivation. The excess funds that we're generating are all being invested into the nonprofit that we've created called Clean Source, which is about creating a nature preserve, giant organic permaculture-based fruit farm, botanical garden, intentional communities, 2 intentional communities, and much more. And so all the money's been reinvested. I just 2 days ago, yesterday morning, while sitting here at Whole Foods, finished the negotiation. Well, there's still a couple fine points, but when I get back, I'll be signing a contract with a neighbor for a 50-acre piece of land, 20-hectare piece of land, as well as their house. There's 2 houses actually. That's part of the project. It's in the valley where we're attempting to acquire as much land as we can to protect that land. The particular piece that I agreed to buy yesterday will most likely become the site of a farm animal sanctuary, which will be part of the project. Okay, and so the idea here is basically 3 things. 1, to protect as much land as possible. 2, to inspire people by giving them amazing experiences in nature. We have this incredible site where we have 18 or more waterfalls, including the first and second highest waterfalls in Central America. It's a spectacularly beautiful place. And 3, to educate as many people as possible so they leave inspired, but actually knowing what to do. Because inspiration without education, where does that go? Maybe they'll go and figure out themselves what to do, but we want to inspire them and educate them as to what to do. Okay, so that's the primary reason. Now, there's one more piece, which is kind of the most important reason. My plan is to expand, but not at our current site. Tanglewood won't likely get any bigger. We might in the future add 1 or 2 rooms, but that's only when I've got other people. There'll be at least 3 people doing the job that I do now, because I work all the time. And so I'm looking to replace myself with 3 people over the next year or so. Once we've done that and we have a system, and I have an MD, by the way, who fasted with me this last session, who is very interested in the possibility of coming to work with us. I had 3 MDs at the center this last session, by the way, all of whom realize that they can't confide in medicine anymore. I'm sorry, two MDs this last session. And that is, we're going to wind up expanding around the world, setting up centers around the world. Medicine is pure nonsense. And my brother's a doctor. He means well, but he was brainwashed in a system that only pushes drugs, which are always toxic and always harmful and never, ever lead to health. You can suppress symptoms, but you can't make people healthy by giving them poisonous substances. Okay? Medicine has become all about pushing drugs. That's all they do. And so I have knowledge, and I'm here live every week, as someone pointed out earlier, Ian, um, for years now, and tomorrow, Saturdays, live in Spanish for years now, because I want to educate as many people, to inform people that they've got alternatives. I haven't seen a doctor in 35 years except for trauma medicine, and I'll never go back again for normal type of issue. There's no reason to. Okay. Um, Trauma, emergency situations, maybe to get something checked out. I mean, honestly, I promised my little brother that while I'm in the US, I'd have a dermatologist look at my skin because this is sun damage. He's afraid it's skin cancer. And I promised him I would have someone take a look at it. So I made myself an appointment for next week to see someone for that. But if I'm sick, I know what to do. I fast. That's all there is. It's getting out of the way so the self-healing body can heal itself. And it's absolutely true that everyone can stop eating all by themselves, as people frequently point out. The problem is that because we haven't grown up in a culture that understands fasting, that where we've practiced this, most people don't really understand the process and therefore don't really know what to do. And so it's very difficult for most people to get the best results or even close to the best results without having experienced guidance. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So, yeah, citrus. We're going to expand. We're going to be expanding that way in a bigger way around the world with other people running the centers. Once we create a system that's reproducible, and we're also going to be, hopefully this year, we're working on several grants right now, and we hope to be able to begin doing research to actually prove to the world what's happening. Because we see things happening that medicine says are impossible, like 100% success with hypertension, with more than 600 people, with 100% success with type 2 diabetes. I'm talking about healing, no need for drugs afterward. Okay, healing type 1 diabetes, not often, but we've seen it happen. The lovely woman who produces my videos, her last A1C says no longer diabetic. Okay, healing a client after 28 or 29 years with epilepsy, brain scan says no longer epileptic. Okay, medicine says, yeah, that's impossible. Okay, yeah, who cares what medicine says? Medicine's all about selling us toxic drugs. That's it. Okay, they don't really know much about health, to be honest. Okay, Sherry has made a $5 contribution. Thank you, Sherry. I appreciate that so much. She says, I was told grapes are the only fruit without proteins. Is this true? Thanks for all. No, it's absolutely untrue. Every living cell, the structure of every living cell is made of protein. You can't have a fruit. You can't have a living cell without protein. That's not possible. Okay, all living cells are made of protein. So grapes contain protein just as much as other fruits do. All right, Alex B is here and has made a $4.99 contribution. Says, what are your thoughts on drinking milk kefir if you're low in good gut bacteria? Dairy products are some of the very worst things that you can consume. There's no valid reason to ever consume dairy products. No human body was meant to consume the milk of another species. If you need good gut bacteria, you should fast with me, Alex, and then eat the optimal diet. You definitely don't need dairy products. Okay, absolutely not. Zero. Okay, and I wouldn't recommend other kefirs either. This isn't the way to heal your body. Okay, it's not what's going to do it for you. Okay, hope that helps. All right, I've got lots of questions up here on Instagram. Let's scroll back up here. Dear, what about fruits with leafy greens? Yeah, you can eat lettuce, soft, tender, non-strong tasting greens with any fruit except melons. All other fruits combine perfectly well with soft, tender, non-strong tasting leafy greens. So I'm not talking about cabbage. I'm not talking about kale. Not talking about arugula. I'm talking about lettuce. Okay, and there are about 30 different varieties of lettuce, depending on where you live and what's available. Where you can get seeds, you can grow or buy many different types of lettuce. It doesn't have to be the same thing over and over again. Okay, what's the significance of tonsil stones? I've been getting a lot of them. This is toxicity only. It's toxicity. Get your body clean. You eliminate the tonsil stones and stop creating them. We see this all the time. Okay, Callie May. We just had someone who was eliminating tons of tonsil stones while fasting with me. No more. Gone. That's done. All right. Hello, Kimmy says, hi, Loren. How effective is fasting when it comes to healing a bone fracture? It's incredibly effective. And this is something I know a lot about personally. Most of my clients come to me with after already healing a fracture to make sure that the healing is as effective as possible. But they already had a cast. They already dealt with an orthopedist to heal the fracture. But I personally have broken 7 fingers, 3 of them twice. You might be able to tell some of them because I have 3 fingers now, both pinkies and this finger, which are no longer straight. I'm sorry, this one, and this one. Yeah, these 2 fingers and that one aren't straight anymore. And that's because I broke them. They healed all by themselves before I realized that they were broken. When I finally, with the first 2, went to see a doctor after they were already healed, I walked in and the doctor said, well, you broke your finger. If you want it straight, I can re-break it for you. And I said, thanks very much. It was good to see you, and walked out. You're not going to break my finger again. My fingers work. Okay. They're not straight. I can't do some of the crazy things I used to do with the broke ones I broke. Right. They no longer, I can't hold that position anymore. It's called double jointed. I can do some crazy things, but not with some of the ones I've broken. I've also broken 2 toes, 2 ribs, both knees, and my right hip. In each case, I fasted to allow these bones to heal as quickly as possible. Fasting is nothing more than intelligently getting out of your body's way so your self-healing body can heal itself. And there's no better way to heal anything that can heal than via fasting, as long as it's done both properly and long enough. Again, the intelligent thing is to have someone who really understands the process guide you through it. I'll guarantee you the results if you work with me, because I know what happens if you're willing to follow simple directions. Okay, it's absolutely incredibly powerful for healing anything at all. La Tenzu, you're very welcome. Let's see. Francis says hi from Quebec. It'll be my 3rd winter fruitarian 100%. It's not that bad with good clothes and being active. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I spent, people say, it's easy for you're in Costa Rica. I spent my first 14 years 100% raw, living outside of Washington, D.C. And in fact, the last 5 of those years up in the mountains, small mountains in Western Maryland. We got snow. It was cold. It was fine. It was fine. I mean, I stayed active. I was outside a lot, very physically active, worked out a lot, and I made sure to wear good clothes. I own thermal underwear. I own them now, even though I'm in Costa Rica, because every once in a while, I mean, first of all, every once in a while it gets kind of chilly, and it helps when you're used to 80 degrees and it's 65. Even then, it feels nice. But also, I sometimes travel to places that are cold. December 2019, just before COVID, before everything was shut down, I was in Stockholm, Sweden in December, doing lectures and seminars. I was glad to have warm clothes with me. I was perfectly fine walking around. We spent a lot of time outside, walking around Stockholm, sightseeing with my my guide and friend there, and client, and I was perfectly fine. It was not bad. It was cold, but with the right clothes, it's not really a problem. Okay, that's the thing to do for sure. That's what to do. All right, let's see here. Um, Alkaline Healing says, "Hey Loren, I love your work. Excuse me. Thank you so much. I hope you can come visit our self-sustaining community in Guatemala. Would you be able to recommend someone to scout 388 acres and help plan buildings, etc.?" Um, I could do that for you. I mean, I've designed our entire site. Uh, Not just Tanglewood. We're currently on Tanglewood. We have 37 acres, and we're adding 25 more. So we'll be at 62 next year. But the large project, the bigger project just down the road, is currently approaching about 2,000 acres that we either own or have under contract. I think we have about 500 acres that we own now, and about 1,500 more that we have under contract. And I'm doing all of the design work on that. Now, it's because eventually when we get into the phase of actually developing some of the structures, it's going to be more than I can handle on my own. We're going to hire an architect. But up until now, I've done all of the design work: gardens, buildings, trails, swales, everything in Tanglewood. And I'd be happy to help you. Um, if you want to set something up where maybe we can do, if you can get me there, and we can maybe do some paid events, so I can generate some income, I'd be happy to come at some point. I don't know what it's like to travel into Guatemala, but I mean, as long as I can get there without too much pain and difficult with my cheek swab PCR test, I'd be happy to do it. Let's be in touch. I'd love to talk to you about that. Thanks so much. I appreciate that. Okay. Let's see. Thanks so much, everybody. Dean Batesman says, "Are you open for tours, as I plan on vacationing in Costa Rica next year?" Thank you. Yeah, be in touch. We can arrange for something, Dean. It's no problem. Okay, just be in touch and we can make it happen. You probably want to spend a night or two with us, and if you do that, we'll give you a free tour. You pay for the stay, and including food, and then we'll give you a free tour. Or if you want to just come and pay for the stay, we can do that too. Thank you so much, Tammy. I appreciate your kind comments. You are very kind. Let me go back. How are we doing? We got about 5 minutes left. Let me scroll down here. What's your opinion of alcoholic drinks? Jasmine asks. Jasmine, alcohol is a cellular poison. It kills living cells on contact. And so I haven't had an alcoholic drink since before I turned 25, 35 years ago. By the way, I'm still just a little bit drunk because I drank a lot from 14 to 25. I started early. I wasn't very happy, and I started drinking alcohol and smoking pot when I was 14 years old. But I decided that I was already noticing the damage to my brain, to my ability to think properly, my cognitive function. And so I decided to give it all up. And I've used no drugs and no alcohol since I was 14, just before I turned 25 years old. And it was a really, really good decision. Even, I really question, people who believe in using certain substances to create greater spirituality or etc. I don't really think that's the way. I think the way is to become as conscious as possible. And what we get by using substances, and I've had experiences of this, many of them. I've used all kinds of substances way back then, but those are momentary glimpses of something which is largely lost afterward. And, for me, I've gained much greater clarity, spirituality by becoming as conscious as possible. What drugs and alcohol do is they move you away from consciousness, not towards consciousness. Okay? Carrots are not optimal. If you saw my Instagram reel recently, I made sushi for the group, and we used a little tiny bit of shredded carrots for the moisture, the taste, the consistency in the sushi. But this is raw vegan sushi. But normally we don't. I don't recommend eating carrots. All the beneficial nutrients from carrots, the carotenes, we can get much more easily by eating mangoes and papayas and peaches and nectarines. Orange fruits are much better source because they're much easier for the body to obtain than getting something from carrots, which are difficult to digest. Okay, so I don't recommend them. Um, all right, what's the difference between soluble or insoluble fiber? Um, it basically is simply about how easily the body can process it and break it down. All right, insoluble being much harder for the body to deal with. Okay, let me see if there's any other questions here that I haven't gotten to. What state are you in? I'm in Texas right now, Sherry, and I'm headed to California next week. I've got some business in Southern California. I'll be in San Diego. Uh, let's see. Are you Aries, Sagittarius, Libra, or Cancer? Thanks. I'm not any of those things. Um, and I'm wondering why you would assume that I was one of those things. I don't know much about astrology, but I'm not any. I'm a Taurus. May 2nd, very Earth. Earth Taurus is an Earth sign, very grounded, very much attached to nature, um, very much affected by beauty. That's me, absolutely. I'm a Taurus through and through. Okay, so I see here we have another super chat that I hadn't noticed. Snug Corner has made a £5 contribution and says, "Greetings from the Big Smoke. What's your current perspective on distilled water, as many people advocate for its use in growing plants?" Distilled water is horrible for any purpose. The only reason I can think of to use distilled water for anything, in a steam iron, they recommend distilled water because the minerals in the water, in normal water, in natural water, in all the water in nature, the minerals can actually clog up the iron, can become a problem, creating scale. But in a living organism, I mean, every other species on the planet drinks nature's perfect spring waters, rain, stream waters, all of which contain minerals, always. Okay? For growing food, why would you choose something unnatural, distilled water? I mean, the best would be rain, as long as it's not toxic. And we capture rainwater, and we use it. What we do at Tanglewood is we capture rain, um, and we store it in containers, and we mix in 1 part seawater for every 49 parts of rainwater. So, for instance, if we had a 50-gallon barrel, we'd put a gallon of seawater in it, and then we let the rain fill it up. And then what we would do is we would have something that was perfect, um, because the seawater contains all the minerals, and that ensures that the plants get the minerals they need. Using distilled water actually takes minerals from the soil. It not only doesn't give you the minerals you need, it takes minerals away from the soil. Using distilled water to grow food or any kind of plant is a terrible idea and something I would never ever recommend doing. And this is, by the way, some of you may not realize this, but I'm a certified permaculture instructor, permaculture designer. I would definitely never recommend using distilled water for anything that's alive. Okay, again, in a machine maybe, but in a living organism, absolutely not. Okay, in a for someone who's on dialysis, they use distilled water to filter the blood because they need something that's absolutely pure. But living organisms depend on having those inorganic minerals. Even our bodies need those inorganic minerals so that the water that we're drinking isn't taking minerals out of the body, and so that it can actually cross cell membranes. We have to have minerals present to do that. Okay. What? Yeah. So we have All right, so I hope that helps. And we have one more super chat, and I realize I'm now a minute late for my next call. So I'm going to go ahead and take this. This is Those Love Songs. Martha, thank you so much. I always truly appreciate your support. Martha's made a $35 contribution and says, I always have these live chats. I always leave these live chats with so much to think about. Can't thank you enough. Well, you've just thanked me quite a bit. So thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. I see there's some more comments, but I'm going to have to run. Thanks, everybody, for being here with me. Just one more thing. I see there are 56 of us currently here on YouTube. If you've enjoyed this, if you think there's value here, if you think this is beneficial in any way, please give it a thumbs up. Okay, thank you so much. If you're with me here on Instagram, maybe you could like this if you think there's value here. And if I see there's people who hadn't had a chance to wave to yet, I apologize. Thank you so much for spending the time with me. I hope this has been beneficial to you. I will be back in English next Friday from San Diego, California, and look forward to seeing you then. Healing My Humans asking, just the last question here, if you've done 21 days and started eating and then realized it wasn't long enough, can you just start fasting again? Unfortunately, you've broken your fast. You start over at the beginning. Much better, Healing My Human, to fast with experienced guidance to be sure that you're doing what you need to do in the first place. Okay, my recommendation would be to wait until like 6 months and then have me guide you through the process. I will unconditionally guarantee you dramatically better results, because that's what always happens. Okay, everybody, I've got to go. I've got a group of people waiting for me on Zoom. And so I will look forward to seeing you all next week and hope you have a fantastic week and weekend, and that you take excellent care of yourself. All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.